giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. I see it got spicy yesterday. Oh, man. As the world turns. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Texas Family Fitness. I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Listen, we're not going to be TMZ Sports today. We're not going to do that. But coming up today, we'll finally get into our series, the HINDSIGHT 2021 series, where we will review the production, the upcoming contracts, what to do with said players at said positions. And today, we're going to talk about the defensive end position, starting with the top two guys that we all want to know about, because there are some big decisions that need to be made. Big decisions that need to be made behind these two guys. So stick around for that. In the roundup, we'll talk about some more coaching news. We may be out on not just Dan Quinn, but another person as well. So Cowboys got to figure that out. And then coming out of the roundup, that's when we'll get into the HINDSIGHT 2021. I had a good time doing this HINDSIGHT series last year, HINDSIGHT 2020, where we reviewed the entire positions, units, player for player. This year will be different because we'll break up the players for each day. Today, we'll talk about Randy and D-Law. Tomorrow will be the depth guys, and we'll close it all out at the end of the week at some point. So we're going to figure this thing out as we go through the series and find a good structure for it. It's different when you're on Monday through Friday as opposed to a few times a week like I used to be. So we're going to try to figure that out. Jeff said something interesting about Sean Payton. Yeah, that's still floating around there. Again, if it happens, it happens. At this point, this is the Earl Thomas situation, you know. So whenever that thing drops for the Cowboys, hey, that'd be awesome. But I'm not holding my breath until it does, because, you know, it's just la-la land at this point, right? Fantasy land until it happens. But shout out to all those who have joined us this morning so far. We got John, Scruggs, Stevie Mac, the My God, TC915, Texas Toast, Mike Harris, Jeremiah, Carl, Dylan, Frankie Franchise. Here we go. Adam, Antoine Okafor, Lord, Nova, B-Rob, what's up, B-Rob, Angelica, America's Team Fan, Brandon C., Mackenzie, two times, Alpha Mason on Facebook. We got Chuck, Wayne, Peter Rizzo, our guy Dannon, CJ Richards with the boom. Who else we got here? Chuck P, Victor, William Brown, Lance Bell, DeMar, John Garcia, and the many more coming through. This series is one you'll definitely want to run back if you miss it, because we're going to detail every single last player in that position. Some players may be an extensive, long detail like today. Some of them may be depth guys that just won't have that much airtime. And in between that, we'll also open up the phone lines. You can call in. Usually we try to stay on topic with what we're talking about. But again, the call-in lines, the pulse of the nation, 351-999-3787. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I definitely want to get your guys' opinions on this defensive end group as we go through it and these two players. And I have some questions for you later in the show, because I want to know how you feel about both of these guys. And got some interesting decisions to make. With these two players. Important decisions, I should say. With that said, man, let's go ahead and get to the roundup. And then coming out of it, we're getting straight to the content. I don't think it's going to be a super long show, so just stick in with us. All right, here we go.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
This is the morning roundup, Brought to you by Texas Family Fitness. Strive for progress, not perfection. Fitness goals are not accomplished with one workout. Progress towards your goals with Texas Family Fitness, a solution for your fitness goals. Make sure you check out any of the 9 locations in the DFW area or visit TexasFamilyFitness.com. Today's roundup is centered around the coaches because coming out of this week, I mean, it's early in the week, but I think things are about to start moving pretty fast in this head coaching situation since they're down to 4 teams in the NFL. And a lot of those coaches that were candidates are out of the playoffs now. Dan Quinn, amongst one of them. He is a finalist in Denver, I believe, top 2 now. So Dan has a second meeting or what have you with Denver. I believe he's going to be visiting them this week. And if he leaves there without a contract, that's good for Dallas, right? We want Dan Quinn to return. Number one, we want Dan Quinn to return. My problem is, and I'm worried that, he interviewed with the Giants. He's from the Giants. He interviewed with Denver. The Bears are up there on the list. The Vikings. There's so many teams that want Dan Quinn. And obviously, Dan Quinn is not turning these teams down, right? He's interviewing with these teams, which means he's interested. He's interested. But from everything that I'm hearing, Denver is the one to most worry about. I still feel like the Giants could be a tricky one because he's from that area. But also, his top lieutenant, Joe Witt Jr., also was requested to interview for the defensive coordinator job in New York. Could get a twofer over there. Joe Witt has yet to become a defensive coordinator in the NFL, which is kind of crazy to me. He's been around for a long time. And if Quinn is a head coach in New York, could bring Joe Witt over to run his defense. They have a connection. They've been coaching with each other for like the last 3 years now, I believe. 3 or 4 years. I think 3. And obviously they just had immense success in Dallas. And honestly, no offense to Al Harris and all these other guys, but I think Quinn and his guys coming into this team helped turn this defense around more than the guys that were here, right? No offense to Al Harris. Like he played his part, obviously, in developing Trayvon Diggs. But it's no coincidence. Joe Witt gets here and all of a sudden the interceptions go up. No coincidence. Dan Quinn gets here. All of a sudden the defense becomes respectable. If you go look at Joe Witt Jr.'s resume in Green Bay, I did a video on this like 2 years ago. It was actually about McCarthy, but not realizing Joe Witt was behind all that. He ranked, his units, his secondary units ranked in the top 10 in interception percentage thrown a lot. And sometimes they were number 1, number 2. So it doesn't shock me that you saw the interception spike under Joe Witt Jr., the secondary coach for the Cowboys. I would be trying real hard to keep him if they want to keep that continuity defensively. If not, we have a lot of guys outside of the building that are quality candidates. Brian Flores, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, which I'll be surprised. Vic Fangio, things like that. Paul says, I didn't know that. Yeah. Joe Witt, I wish I could find that video. I think I deleted it. He was a longtime assistant coach under Mike McCarthy during the golden years of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. I say Aaron Rodgers because, but I think I want to say he might have been there prior to Aaron, but he was definitely there throughout that entire era, and he won the Super Bowl with them, and they were constantly ranked in the top 10 in interception percentage. I attribute that to Joe Witt. I mean, no offense to Al Harris, but I attribute the success from the secondary to him. So you got to try to get him back if you can't get Dan Quinn. If you can't get either, got to figure something out, right? Like Dallas has to figure something out because the defense is one position, one unit. We can't continue to have all this no continuity at. We've been here, right? We've been here with Rob Ryan, Paul Puzlowski, Rob Marinelli, Chris Richard, Mike Nolan, Dan Quinn. How many defensive coordinators in a decade do you want to continue to go through? How many different schemes, philosophies, principles do you want to continue to go through? It's no accident your offense has been the more consistent side of the ball for the better part of the decade. You've put most of your resources there. Your coaching has been consistent there. Your philosophies, your principles have been consistent there. Not so much on the defensive side. Not so much on the defensive side. It's tricky because nowadays, your defense or any unit gets hot, you can lose a coach. So Dallas has to figure out how to build a foundation within the organization that if so-and-so leaves, we can just promote within and keep that successful foundation that we started. And that's how I feel about Joe Witt. Monty Kiffin, thank you below the heavens. Goodness gracious, Monty Kiffin was awful. So, Dallas has been through, 6 different defensive coordinators since, when was Kiffin here? 2013. So, and then Rob Ryan was 2012. So you're talking about the last 10 years. Rob Ryan, Monty Kiffin, Paul Puslins, which is because Rob got fired. Rob Marinelli / and Chris Richard, Mike Nolan, Dan Quinn. It's roughly 6 defensive coordinators in a 10-year span. I don't know too many defenses, consistently successful defenses there are out there with that much turnover. I've been big on this. So hopefully we can keep those guys together. All right, real quick before we get into the first part of the Hindsight 2021, I do have a call, and it's our guy, Twan. I heard from Twan in a minute. What's up, man?
What's good, Sky? I'm glad to be back. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think I heard from you since the loss, so I know you probably got a lot on your chest.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. I've been busy with school. School just started back up again, so that's all. But I've been watching though. Always gonna keep watching.
Appreciate you, brother.
But yeah, man. I just wanted to quickly just get to start off about the season in general, because I've been watching, but I ain't really, I got a lot to say and stuff.
Yeah.
Disappointed, but I'm still kind of somewhat optimistic, but I'm kind of with you on the point that the Cowboys are just going to have to show me come playoff time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if we go 11-5, 13-4, whatever it is. We want to have to prove it in the playoffs, because at this point, I'm kind of really on the side of, they're not going to get me again. I'm kind of with my dad too. We were talking about the game this season actually, and he was saying we're just going to have to prove it in the playoffs.
Yeah, I said this yesterday. The number one currency, and it wasn't me who said it. It was Kevin Gray, but I want to use it. The number one currency that Jerry Jones has had is hope amongst the fan base. And I think this year that all of that hope has been sucked out. For most people, it's been, they just don't really – they care for the Cowboys, but at the same time, they really don't. They just like to tune in, kind of like a car crash. And I'm talking about Cowboys fans. They love to watch this car crash happen. But hope is, for the most part, is probably gone for majority of Cowboys Nation. So Jerry's got a tall task, and during the 2022 season, even if, like you said, they have a really good record, it's going to take playoff wins to get everybody back on board, most likely.
Oh, for sure. Another thing I kind of been seeing also these past couple of weeks is the fact that people wanted to get rid of Dak after that performance. Now, granted, did Dak play his best game? Hell no. But
I don't know about getting rid of. I mean, people that want to get rid of Dak already didn't like Dak in the first place. I think there's people that are questioning him, and I think that's fair after the game, right? I mean, that's what's fresh on our mind. The offense was strange the last half of the year. I think it's fair that they to question him. Getting rid of him that's a bit much there. I mean, those people who want to get rid of him always wanted to get rid of him, so that didn't change their mind.
I know, but like today, it just kind of still baffles me because I know there's 5-6 teams right now that would be definitely wanting to pick this guy up.
Oh.
So it just kind of baffles me that we want to get rid of him. I mean, as you can see, you've seen the quarterback play in the playoffs this year. You feel me? Like how that position is important and stuff. So
sure,
it's hard to.
If he hits the market, there'll be a ton of teams that would love to have him.
Yeah, but it would be. I think it's really hard to find a franchise quarterback. That's just me, because as you can see, the recent cream of quarterbacks that have come on the last kind of maybe 3, 4, 5 years, with the obsession of Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, the quarterbacks in the playoffs, basically Patrick Mahomes now. It's just hard to find that talent in position because it's the hardest position in the league, in my opinion. So I think Cowboys this year, we should be like, I know it's his 7th season and everything, but like, just trust the process. That's just me. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But
As long as Dak comes back next year, continuing to get better every year. I remember Romo used to say this: you're not done getting better as a quarterback. We saw him improve in everything that he did all the way up until year like 14 or whatever it was. So, he's still 28, I think it is. So he's got lots of time to continue to get better. And as he's currently constructed, he gives you a shot. But obviously he can't do it by himself. I mean, I'm not putting the entire team on his back to do it by himself. Ain't too many like that. There may be two or three guys like that, but he's not one of those guys like that.
Of course. Although I do agree with you, I really wanted to see him like take that next step into, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna run this play and I think if he really would have done that this year, maybe we would be talking about, maybe he was getting past the divisional round, but like, you know what I'm saying. But that's the one thing I think he should really improve on, and maybe really, having the balls, basically, like you've been saying, like, you know what, fuck, I'm not running this. We're gonna run this, and then this shit gonna work.
I
feel
think
like if you really didn't take that next step,
it starts with getting rid of his friend.
That's it. Yeah, Kevin gotta go.
They're friends. You know what I mean? They're too close.
I don't know how we didn't see that. We were thinking, it could work, but like now that I'm thinking about it, if I have a coordinator that's my friend, I'm probably gonna get away with a lot more. You know what I'm saying?
No, 100. Yeah. Need another voice in that room, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know you're about to get into the hindsight 2020 with Gregory and
yeah, I'm about to get into
D-Law. Mm-hmm. But before I go, I'll just say this: I think we should keep both of their asses, especially Randy. But before I leave, though, I got a question. How do you feel about Randy getting surgery? You think that's a concern?
Not at all. That was a cleanup. That is nothing.
Well, all right, Scott. First, congratulations on everything this year you accomplished. The game day live this year, I was watching all of them, hyped with you as hell. Like, I thought that was the greatest idea, or a really, really good idea.
Thanks, man.
And I hope you continue to prosper with this YouTube stuff. Go do 100K, as I've been saying.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, man. Gotta say, have a good day.
Appreciate you, Twan. Yeah, I had an absolute blast with the game day lives. I think next year we're going to add a little wrinkle to it. I might have like a sky cam. I got to get the sky cam back on the show too. A sky cam that records me, because y'all see the on-screen me, halftime, pregame, postgame. But during the game, I'm just a crazy ass fan. So I'm gonna get a camera, I think, that just records me. We'll play it at halftime, postgame, things like that, so you can see the reactions I have to some of this craziness during the games. Paul said, I'm going to be honest, after seeing Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes passing, he wants Dak to step it up. Well, let me tell you something, Paul. He ain't none of them dudes. Like that's what we got to kind of come to conclusion with here. Those guys are aliens. They're different. The arm strength they have, the way they can throw off platform. The original alien is Patrick Mahomes. But I think Josh Allen in these playoffs has risen to alien status. So I don't think he can step up to that level. That he doesn't physically have that. He doesn't need to either. You don't need your quarterback to be those two guys to be successful. But if you're don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes may go into next year as the top two quarterbacks in the NFL. Seriously. I don't think there's a quarterback in the league that has a stronger arm than Josh. He can also run. He's become more accurate, and he has that in his system. He does. And I'm not even going to talk about Pat. Pat is Pat. That's a whole different story. So, are you saying yikes for Josh Allen? I'm not sure how much Josh you've been watching, bro, but he was pretty damn. Not pretty damn. He was really good this year. He was really good this year. It wasn't his fault that the teams were losing some games in the post. It wasn't his fault they lost against the Chiefs. I tell you that much. But those boys are different. If you actually go look at the game, because you're talking about the timing and stuff. No offense to Josh, but I mean, if I can get CeeDee Lamb to break whoever cornerback that was against the Chiefs twice and be wide open for a touchdown, sure. But there was also a third touchdown. Josh Allen threw a 75-yard bomb in the air that that's not happening with Dak Prescott. So, I mean, context, right? Context. It matters. It matters. This ain't about Dak today. This is more so about the defensive ends, and I want to get into the number one, the first one, and that is Randy Gregory. All right, let's jump inside the numbers with one Randy Gregory. Here's the thing about Randy. Y'all know me. I love me some Randy Gregory. I think he started getting the groove about mid-season. Then he suffered that calf injury, among other things, that sidelined him for about 4 weeks, roughly 4 or 5 weeks. But before that, he was a force to be reckoned with. A force. And he showed you why he was that top-end talent in the league. I mean, on the season, the numbers aren't crazy. 19 tackles, 6 sacks, which ties a career high, 43 pressures, which is a career high, 17 quarterback hits, 3 forced fumbles, an interception, and he had 12 stops. After the injury, though, is where it got a little bit weird. And again, this isn't a knock on Randy. You know, it happens. Injuries slow you down. He did go on a streak of 6 games to end the year without a sack. It was kind of clear that the injury started to get to him a little bit. And then the way he ended the year against the Niners was kind of frustrating. Not just with the penalties, because if you remember the penalties, I believe there were 3 called on Randy Gregory in that game, and it could have easily been 5 or 6. I think this was a coaching decision, but teams that like to get their linemen to the second level every play, teams that do a lot of pulling, teams that do a lot of reaching and things like that, defensive linemen are taught to hold a little bit. So that's nothing new, but there was a video that came out that showed Randy Gregory not just holding, but absolutely obliterating the 49ers. The 49ers offensive linemen, taking them down and all types of craziness. So I would think that was a coaching move, and I didn't like it too much. Just let Randy go play. But nonetheless, here we are now. Finally, he becomes a unrestricted free agent for the Dallas Cowboys. And here's a decision the Cowboys have to make here. Randy, if you want to franchise tag him, $20 million franchise tag. It's pretty high. Or you get transition tag Randy Gregory. What is a transition tag, Sky? Let me tell you. It guarantees that the original club has the right of first refusal to match any offer the player may make with another team. Meaning, if you don't want to franchise tag him because you have a $20 million, that $20 million is a lot. I don't think he's going to catch $20 million on the market. I mean, if you go look at around the league at some of the players in his kind of tier, they're not getting $20 million. But that's where it's starting to trend to for some of the top end guys, a la D-Law, which we'll get to in a second. The transition tag, however, though, is $16 million. Doesn't tie you to him long term. And if another team wants to go out and negotiate, they can go out and try to match that $16 million tag. So twofold question for you guys, Cowboys Nation. One, how would you grade Randy Gregory's season, right? Here's his season. Here's his year. It didn't end well. A little frustrating. But how would you grade Randy Gregory's season? See what you guys got to say. Then I'll tell you how I feel about him. B+, says Antoine. A+, Jeremy, give him an A+. B, Brandon. D says A. Brian Bradford says B-. Lance, B+. Chuck, C+. I think I'm in C+. Okay, that's the lowest one I've seen so far. B+, B. I'm in the B range too. I mean, it could be minus or plus. I'm in the B range. I think he had the potential to go higher than that, but when he came back from the injury, it was a bit hit and miss. And then the playoff game was pretty frustrating. So you go your last 7 games of the season they were okay. They were solid, you know. But the first 7 or 8 games, he really was on fire. So now I'm starting to see some C's roll in. Look like B's are taking it here, though. Jeremiah says 6 sacks ain't no B. I mean, technically that is like a B performance. Not a lot of guys are getting double-digit sacks in this league, left and right. Remember, he played 13 games this year. 43 pressures, 17 quarterback hits, 3 forced fumbles. It's about a B performance. I'd say it's a B performance. C would be, to me, that'd be a bad year for Randy Gregory. I wouldn't say this is a bad year. Special case said, can we rate half the season? First half, it'd be A+. Second half, it'd probably be a C, and that equals out to a B. Is how I look at it. The penalties, the penalties were so frustrating in that game. But here's the thing about the penalties that I got to give him a little bit slack on in the first 2. I felt like Trent Williams was full start, but they didn't call it. But it's not like it's the first time we've seen Randy Gregory do that. Like Randy Gregory has done that throughout his career, boneheaded penalties like that. And I thought he started to get those things under control, and then they reared their ugly heads in the playoffs. So that definitely knocks him down a little bit. So the second question, would you re-sign Randy Gregory? Yes, I would. The problem is, though, is going to be the money. And I don't think he's going to take, I know for a fact he's not taking a discount. So I know a lot of people are probably going to come in here and say, hometown discount, Randy Gregory. Well, I'm here to tell you that's likely not going to happen. I know Jerry's stuck with them, all that good stuff, but this is probably his only time he's going to get a shot at a major deal. And I just have a hard time believing that Randy Gregory is going to take a discount. I just do. Somebody said somebody Eagles fan? A lot of yeses. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought we'd see more no's here, just because of the way it ended with him on the season. But so far, unanimously, yes. Unanimously, pay the man, yes, but he's not taking a discount. I agree, he's not taking a discount. Yes, but got to be 15 or mil or less. I think 15 could get it done, honestly. It's just a matter of, are they comfortable going that range? Again, we're getting into the numbers now. The season isn't over yet. The cap it'll go up to 208. We don't have the exact number. They'll move money around, things like that. But if you want to just talk about the number, 15 sounds safe. But I think Stevie Mack said it. You got to put some type of stipulation in the contract to protect yourself. Not necessarily just because, it's Randy, right? But seriously, injury clauses, things like that, suspension clauses, just to protect yourself, like you did with La'el Collins, right? You put a suspension clause in La'el Collins' contract, I believe, and he lost like $2 million or something like that. But I would resign Randy Gregory, and I'll get to why after we talk about the next person here. Are there those who are against it? Because I'm interested. Okay, so here we go. Chenard says, no, let depth play out. Draft another linebacker, put Parsons on the line. See, the problem is, Chenard, what depth? Your defensive ends going into the season under contract: Demarcus Lawrence, Terrell Basham, Chauncey Golston. That's it. Now you can move Micah Parsons down. A lot of people are going to want to do something with this guy next, and we'll get to it in a second. So I think the depth is kind of, at this moment under contract, there's not a ton of depth at defense end just quite yet. And what Randy is he is your speed rush end. No, Dorrance Armstrong is also a free agent. So it's another guy that, I talked about bringing one of those guys back, but that is another guy that's not going to be here in regards to being a free agent. So you don't really have that right defensive end unless you move Micah down to play right defensive end, that speed rusher. And then you go, obviously, you have to draft multiple linebackers in that sense then. Marcus says, I want and need Micah at linebacker. I am 100% with you, and I'm going to get to that point of why I want to re-sign Randy and then this next person. Shinar says it hurt when Jets signed Anae. Such a strange situation. In fact, I would love to talk to Bradley Anae or somebody close to Bradley Anae and just why did it not work out here in Dallas? I'm not saying he was going to be spectacular, but I mean, he didn't even get a shot. I mean, he got one game really where he was getting defense end snaps or edge rusher snaps, and it was against the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken. Other than that, it was nothing. So real interested to see why that didn't work out. He seemed to be that versatile guy that Dan Quinn liked. Can stand up as a 3-4 guy, put his hands down in the dirt if need be. Jeremy says short arms. Yeah. Measurables are, you know how it is, Jeremy. Yeah, Chucky couldn't get any playing time. I don't know why. What had Anae done to warrant a love affair? I don't think there wasn't a love affair. I think people were intrigued. I mean, you had obviously fans of Bradley Anae. Everybody, there's fans of all teams, right? Team Anae, Jeff Heath the GOAT, things like that, right? But I think majority of Cowboys Nation wanted to see what the man had, especially after his preseason where he showed some tools. Get to the season and we just didn't see anything from him. Like literally didn't even get a shot. It's similar kind of to the Donovan Wilson situation where people were like, hey man, can we at least see what Dono got? And then Dono got in there and like, oh, there we go. We got ourselves a player. No sponsor says rule of 2. Could be. All right, what you think about Randy Gregory here, 551?
First, let's put Randy Gregory in perspective. I think people call him a defensive end. In my opinion, the defensive end is someone that can go head up against a tackle consistently with his hands in the ground. Randy Gregory is a stand-up linebacker at best. Not to say he's not effective at his position, but that's what he is. He's not a defensive end.
I would disagree.
And I think how do you disagree?
Because I've seen Randy Gregory put his hands in the dirt every play and play well in the NFL, not just college. But
I'm talking about play well. Now, not to interrupt you. I mean play well, but consistently be able to play the run. Your first responsibility at the defensive end is to be able to play the run to the pass. If you can't consistently put your hand in the ground play the run, you're a linebacker.
That all depends on the scheme, number one, because under Rod Marinelli, that was not the number one thing to do. If you remember, I'm not sure how much you pay attention to Rod Marinelli's schematics, but Rod Marinelli wants you to play the quarterback first and then get to the run. He wants you to play the run through the quarterback. So that's number one under Rod Marinelli. And he played with his hands in the dirt consistently under Rod Marinelli. I like the way Dan Quinn used him to move him around. If you actually go back and look at some of the highlights there, he was very productive in that manner. And this year, and I think last year too, Randy Gregory got better against the run. He put on more weight. He's up to about 260 or so and put on some of that grown man strength. And I think he played much better against the run later on in his career than he did earlier because he was like 235 soaking wet, it felt like. But again, we're just going to have we can agree to disagree. I'm not here to change your mind. I just want to give my rebuttal to your opinion.
No, I absolutely respect your opinion. But what I'm saying from a traditional standpoint, you can't play defensive end at 235.
He's not 235.
I know that. But you were talking about the Marinelli years. And that doesn't even make sense in the traditional sense of football. You can't be a defensive end and play 35. I know he's 260 something now.
Yeah.
But anytime he did anything that was worth even watching, if you watch the 49er game, anytime he did anything this year, he was standing up on the outside of the tackle.
That's false.
That's the linebacker.
That's false. I'm watching highlights right now of him in the dirt and standing up.
With his hands in the dirt doing something?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm watching it too. That's a stand-up play right there.
Sir, I'm kind of confused why it's a bad thing for him to be versatile.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing.
Okay.
See, you're not understanding because you're not really understanding where I'm viewing the position. I'm viewing the position from someone who can put their hands in the dirt and consistently attack tackles in the run game, and I'm considering that a defensive end.
Okay.
Anything that's standing up on the outside, he's a linebacker.
Yeah, he can do that.
Yeah, this is his natural position, is what I'm saying. Defensive end's natural position is to put his hands in the dirt, go head up against starting tackles, and win in the run game. Okay. Never mind his pass. We get to that later. If you can't win in a run game,
can I ask you a question?
The other team can control down and distances, and you're useless.
Wow.
Because I can just run at you. If I can move you from point A to point B for 5 yards, why wouldn't I just run that all the way down the field? You have to stop me at some point from gaining yardage.
So the NFL just got it wrong then, because
it's not that the NFL got it wrong. It's that the scheme that Dallas plays, Randy Gregory would be better used if they had another right end, a traditional right end.
No. I'm talking about your premise here that defensive end's number one job is to be a run defender. I'm saying the NFL got it wrong then, because a lot of the defensive ends that are getting paid to rush the passer. Because it's 2022.
Any defensive end that's worth his salt, the ones that's rushing the passer can stop the run. They just don't rush the passer. Those guys are linebackers. Stand-up guys outside of the tackle. Outside of the tackle is a linebacker. Traditionally, period. Football, period.
Continue. I don't want to get in a debate back and forth. I want you to get your point out.
I just want people to view the position in a different way.
You want people to view it as like this is 1979. It's not anymore.
But it's not 1979. But the traditional laws of physics still stand.
Okay.
What's
your other point, bro?
That's the only point I have.
Yeah, so your point is that Randy Gregory is not a defensive end?
In a traditional sense. So he shouldn't be paid $20 million.
Okay, so that's your point. He shouldn't be paid $20 million then.
No, my point is that Randy Gregory, is that from a new schematic way of looking at football, people call Randy Gregory a defensive end, and he's not a defensive end from a traditional standpoint. He's a stand-up linebacker at best. And he's a role player for the Cowboys. That's why he only got 19 tackles.
At best.
How can you be a defensive end and only come up with 19 tackles?
Well, he only played 13 games, but nonetheless, I don't.
13 games, 19 tackles?
Yeah,
He should at least get 4 tackles a game, or 3 at least.
Sheesh, at least, huh?
3 tackles?
Mm.
When teams are running at you, one of the problems Dallas had was stopping the run. People were running at you. You should at least get 3 tackles.
Mm.
Jesus, as an end, and you want $20 million? Come on.
This is interesting because the other guy on the other side, I'm curious to know that I got you on the horn, because a lot of people don't like this guy. I love him, but how do you feel about Demarcus?
I love Randy Gregory.
No. I'm not talking about Randy. Listen, bro. Listen. How do you feel about Demarcus Lawrence?
I feel like Demarcus Lawrence. You know what? Demarcus Lawrence. Now, as a body type, Demarcus Lawrence is a linebacker. But as a mentality type, he's a defensive end because he can consistently play the run if he's healthy.
Wait a minute.
He can the best thing he does is consistently play the run.
I agree. But hold on. I don't know if you misspoke here. I think you might have misspoke. You said he's a linebacker body type?
Yeah, he's a linebacker. When he came out of college, he was only 250, 255. He built himself up after he had the scandal.
Yeah, well,
he came back.
It's not college.
265.
I'm talking about right now. How do you feel about?
I know it's not college, but I'm saying his body type is really a linebacker body type. But he built himself up,
jeez.
and his mentality is a defensive end style.
All right. That's very, very interesting opinions here.
But when you this is what you do. When you look at the 49ers, I know it's a different team. Evaluate what their defensive ends can do and evaluate what our defensive ends can do. And you tell me who got the stronger defensive end unit. Do that.
I don't know. What does that have to do with
everything you do?
I'm not. I'm just. What does me evaluating their defensive end position have to do with us?
This is a team that's going further on than the Cowboys are in the playoffs, and you can compare the two because they play a traditional style of defensive end. Just do that for me, Scott, and then you can have. I'm gonna have my opinion, and you can have your opinion. But just look at it. Look at what they can do against the run.
I can look at a ton of good defenses and compare them, but that's not what the point of this exercise is for. I'm not here to compare Demarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory to Nick Bosa and the plethora of defensive ends they have, or their scheme against our scheme. I'm just talking about these players and if we should resign them, how they performed, and things like that. So I don't know why I need to compare it with the Niners.
I got into the weeds, and I'm sorry. I think Randy Gregory is at best. I'll give him C+ as a linebacker.
Okay,
he's an F defensive end.
So that's not worthy of re-signing. You obviously you out on Randy Gregory.
I'm thinking you could re-sign him to fit the scheme. He does fit the scheme, especially as that outside. They need him to be that outside rush guy, that crazy. They need him for that. But for him to get top-tier defensive end money, you might have to look somewhere else and find somebody else because he's not worth the $20 million.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay $20 million. I don't know that I'd go that far either. But that's the franchise tag.
Okay.
I don't think I want to have two $20 million defensive linemen. Forget just ends. Defensive linemen on my team. I don't think I want to do that.
Dallas is in a pickle, bro. Dallas is in a pickle, and I'm going to tell you why. Dallas is in a pickle because of their philosophy. They believe that Randy Gregory is a defensive end and he's a linebacker, and they never went in a draft and picked up somebody to play right end.
Dallas is in a pickle because of
struggling at that position for years. When the last time they had a right end that could play?
What? You got one
and really do something.
Do you literally have one, Randy Gregory?
Randy Gregory was getting killed by the 49ers. That's why he kept holding.
No, he kept holding because he kept holding. He was holding on purpose, and I didn't like it. That seemed like a game plan thing. Here's the thing: do you realize the right defensive end in most 4-3 schemes, in most pass rushing schemes, whether you want it to be stand up or not, whatever how you want to semantics, their primary job is to rush the passer. The left defensive end's primary job is to be more of the run defender. When you talk about tradition, that is tradition.
No, tradition. Football started out as a run game.
All right. We're not gonna do that, bro. We're not gonna do that.
Any team. All right, you can say. Let's say I agree with you. Any team that's willing to run the ball, your defensive end would have to be able to stop the play.
Brother,
right?
I've seen Joey. Question: how you feel about Joey Bosa? I've seen him get got on the ground. I've seen Nick get got on the ground. I've seen TJ. I've seen a lot of defense ends get got on the ground. How you feel about Joey Bosa then?
Joey Bosa, I feel that Joey Bosa is
not a defensive end.
I feel like Joey Bosa's best position is to stand-up defensive linebacker.
Okay.
In a 3-4.
Fair enough.
I think that his brother Nick is a more traditional defensive end, head-to-head over a tackle, and be able to hold up better.
All right, man. Appreciate the call.
All right, bro.
Let's get my guy Marcus in here. What's up, man?
What's going on, bro?
Not much, brother. How you?
Man, I'm good, man. You know this, Marcus, man. I had to laugh, man. This dude was cracking me up. Like
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest football analytics guy historian, but I'm just like,
Sound like
dude,
Randy Gregory. He
like,
said we're in a pickle because of Randy Gregory and the way they use him. The defense was a pretty solid defense all year. Very interesting.
Let me just Can I ask you something though? Like, and just tell me if you think it's true or false. Like, the reason why he's not a stand-up linebacker is because he doesn't play coverage. Like, even edge guys or like guys that rush the passer have to drop into coverage ever so often, depending on what the defensive game plan calls for. So Randy Gregory doesn't do that. His job is to get to the quarterback.
That's what I was trying to explain. That's what I was trying to explain to him, Marcus. It sounds like to me he wants to go back to 1980 and basically have two traditional left defensive ends.
He wants Richard Dent and Steve McMichael.
He doesn't want a true pass rusher. He wants guys that just stop the run. And
you know what he wants?
He wants a 3-4 defense.
You know what he wants? This is what he wants. He basically wants a defensive end to play like an interior lineman, because that's literally what their job is. Their job is not to get to the passer. Their job is to basically stand their guys up.
Well, that's 3-4
They see somebody. Right.
He wants defensive ends like Chris Canty and Cam Haywards and things like that. The 3-4 traditional defensive end guys. There's a bunch of them. I wish he
would have just said that.
Yeah,
I wish he would have just.
I mean, he kind of did. He just
said that, and he would have had a valid point. But we don't run a 3-4.
No, we run a hybrid, and he was saying that Randy Gregory never made a single play this year with his hand in the dirt. I mean, that's literally false. The very first highlight on this play,
he tipped the interception to himself against the Washington football.
The very first highlight on this play is Randy Gregory with his hand in the dirt. Here's another one, hand in the dirt. Like his versatility shouldn't be used against him in this manner. In fact, it may get him paid more because he can do more things.
The only issue I got with Randy, honestly, is that because I know he got that dog in him, but sometimes I think that dog kind of takes over and he gets really undisciplined. That's the only thing I might have an issue with.
Yeah,
but
his head.
Just pure. Like, I'm just looking at that San Francisco game. He was just really. It just seemed real weird. Like, why are you playing like this? Like, why are you doing what you're doing when you haven't been doing it all year?
I feel like he was told to do that in this game because of the scheme that they run, and I don't like how he did it. Like, he could have been more subtle about it, but it felt like his frustration.
Maybe a little bit cleaner. Yeah, like a little bit more crisp, a little bit more clean, more.
Somebody said he was dirty in that game, and when you go back and look at some of the plays, I'm like, yeah, he kind of was. He was doing some dirty stuff in that game.
Yeah, and I was just like, what is he doing? And then every time he would do it, every time they would zoom in on his face, he was smiling. I'm like, what, dude? What are you doing? Why are you sitting there laughing like this is some kind of preseason game? Like, this is literally you win or you lose, you go home. Like, what's the issue? Like, it was just, that was weird to me. So my whole thing is I do love Randy Gregory. I love his story. I love where he's come from, and I can appreciate, the team being patient with him as he worked out his demons. I mean, that's great. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he needs to take a discount. I think that there's a healthy range based on his productivity. There's a healthy range that he can be paid at. And also, just make sure that and I said it in the chat, just make sure that you structure the deal correctly where you're protected. And I think he'll be fine. I think he'll take it because he realized that, going on 30 years old, man, this is probably your only shot, your only big contract that you're going to get.
He got leverage.
Why not finish it here?
He got leverage, though, because he can talk to a bunch of different teams. And like I always say about the draft and free agency, it only takes one team. Just one team.
That's true.
And you can be Tim Tebow getting drafted in the first round. It takes one team, and you can be what's the cat's name? The receiver who got paid stupid money, Sam Watkins, right? The Chiefs can fall in love with you, and you can get a ridiculous amount of money. And even though that's not your market, in my opinion,
we don't even know who he plays for anymore.
I don't. He's everywhere. Is it Baltimore or something? I don't know.
So,
but yeah.
I look at it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so I'm just saying it only takes one team.
Oh, yeah, and I agree with that, but I just look at it like this, man. This is the team that basically built you up, and they believe in you, so I think that should be taken into consideration as well. But at the same time, the healthy balance is you consider that, but also get your bag. Don't short yourself.
Yeah, I'm with him.
But don't sit there and take an extra $5-6 million to go to a dumpster fire, and then you're unhappy, but you paid. So I mean, but at the end of the day, you know, that's his body. He's put on the line and everything. So I wish him the best anyway, you know, anytime going forward. But at the end of the day, the last thing I'm gonna say is I trust Will McClay. Trust Will McClay that he's going to do his thing. So, you know, how everything works out, Cowboy Nation, you got to remember we got Will McClay. That brother knows what he's doing, and just let him keep on doing what he's doing. Because, truth be told, you can win once you've paid your quarterback. And at the end of the day, that's all I got to say. Sky got his hands all over you as usual. You keep doing what you do, keep pushing, keep thriving, and you take care of yourself, brother.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you. Yeah, we're seeing that right now. 3 of the 4 teams in the Final Four all have a quarterback who was at one point the highest paid quarterback in the league. 3 of the Final 4. So you could definitely do that. Let's get to 757. Not sure who 757 is. What's going on?
Hey, man, first time caller, man. I've been listening to you. I want to comment on what that guy said about Randy Gregory.
Sure.
I think, okay, he's his body type in today's NFL. You know, you don't have the Mean Joe Greens.
Yeah, he
the
wants the
Harvey
traditional
Martin body type.
Yeah, he wants that traditional defense from back.
Yeah,
in
you
the
know
day.
what I'm saying. He wants that 6'4", 275, 280. Man, don't nobody play like that no more. But I get what he's saying though.
I get it. Yeah.
Randy Gregory is a defensive end. And I don't know how this thing will play out as far as the money is concerned. I don't know about the hometown discount, like you said. You know, this is gonna be his only time to get his dough. So, don't know how it's gonna play out. One thing about Randy, you know, he's really football young, because he hasn't played a whole lot because of what he's been dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know, Jerry gonna try to talk to him and try to get a hometown discount.
Ain't gonna happen, bro. I mean, from his mouth, he is not doing that. Now, what may be a hometown discount to the Cowboys may not be a hometown discount to the fans, meaning they have their number of hometown discount. But if it comes out, Randy signs a contract and we automatically think it's a hometown, maybe it's not. Maybe Randy was like, hey, this is the number I'm set on. I'm cool. It ain't about me trying to get 20. If I can get 14, 15, that's straight. And it might look like hometown discount, but that's not. That's the number that he's comfortable with. But I feel like they're going to try to come under 10. Like I just feel like that's what they're going to try to do.
Hey, and I'm gonna say this, bro. You know how they gonna get that money? And I hate to say it. And Jerry Jones been setting the stage for this. I made a chat. I think on your yesterday's show, because I wasn't live with you. Man, I hate to say it, man. They're gonna release Amari, man. I hate to say it. If you listen to Jerry Jones, if you listen to him, and Jerry Jones need to get a damn GM, man. I'm so sick of him. Man, I've been a Cowboys fan since 76. I'm 55 years old. I've been a Cowboys fan since 76, 10 years old. Man, when Jerry Jones bought the team, I hated it. When he fired Tom Landry, I hated it even more. And when he got rid of Jimmy, man, I was just done. And that's when the curse started. The curse started when he got rid of Jimmy. Once he got rid of Jimmy, look at what we've done ever since. We ain't been able to have a stable coach. We ain't been able to be stable.
Yeah, we understand. Jerry is. I say it all the time on this channel, man. What can we do? All we can do is live with this, unfortunately, and hope somehow, some way we catch lightning in a bottle in any given year,
Yeah.
and hopefully a coach can maybe overcome this crap. But right now, not good. But you think that he's going to cut Amari because of that, what he said on the radio?
Absolutely. And Amari isn't the one that he should be getting rid of. He should be getting rid of that damn Kellen Moore. Man, that dude, man. We done had Linehan, then we had Jason Garrett, now we got this nut. Man, this dude can't call a good game against a good team to save his damn life.
Dude, you ain't lying. Look, I think you know what? That we've been talking about it out loud, but I want to say these words together. 100% I believe he would cut Amari Cooper before he would get rid of Kellen Moore. That's something that I have not.
Say that again, bro. Say
I
that again.
100% believe he would cut, trade, whatever the hell you want to do, get rid of Amari Cooper before he fires Kellen Moore. And I hadn't said it out loud. We all probably thought that, but when you say it out loud, you be like, that's crazy as hell, in my opinion. Crazy. But that's the type of ego our owner has, where through hook or crook, he's going to hold on to any thread of, hey, we did it my way possible. Getting rid of Kellen Moore would end that thread. He's the last thread of doing it my way. I don't even know if Jerry really wanted McCarthy, but that's his last hope of, hey, my Jason Garrett connection to Scott Linehan, then to Kellen Moore. You get rid of him, boy genius, there's nothing really holding on from that whole, hey, I did it my way era. So, yeah.
And he been doing that. And he been doing that shit ever since Jimmy Johnson. He been doing that ever since Jimmy Johnson. He want to do it his way, and his way. Look where it got us. We'll be 20. I don't even. We'll be damn near 30 years later. When we won the last Super Bowl, 95, 96.
96, it's calendar year, but 95 season year, yeah.
95. So what? Well, we do the math. Damn near 30 years. I ain't trying to. It's been damn near 30 years. I know that.
I hear you, bro.
26 years, 27 years, whatever it is. But I just wanted to say that, bro. You know, I ain't gonna hold your phone up. But I hope like hell he don't get rid of Amari to try to sign other people. But he's setting the stage for that, bro. He's setting the stage for that. Mark my words on that. I call back when it happened.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, we did a show with Mauricio, and Mauricio's question was, would you be surprised, very surprised, or unsurprised if they get rid of Amari? I said, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're setting the stage for it. Just a matter if they have the balls to do it.
Yep.
But, hey, man, appreciate the call, brother.
Yep. All right, bro. Appreciate you.
No doubt. I actually agree with B. Bird on this one. 100%. He says, appreciate the donation. Robert Quinn over Randy Gregory. It's not even close. I mean, I don't know how it could be. I mean, I love Randy Gregory, but Robert Quinn as a pass rusher has been one of the most consistent pass rushers since he's been in the league, and he's been in the league for a long time. And I was going to bring up Robert Quinn to that caller and say, well, how do you feel about Robert Quinn? Huh? Because Robert Quinn's a guy who, you want to talk about being bad against the run. He's awful against the run, but he's one of those elite edge rusher, pass rushers in today's game that you need. Again, to go back on the Randy conversation, you're just not, most teams are not playing two left defensive end, because that's basically what we're asking for, on that side of the field, down in, down out, unless you're a 3-4 team, right? In a traditional 4-3 front or hybrid front, you're always going to have a speed rush, and it just so happens Randy's talented enough to stand up and put his hands down in the dirt. But yeah, man, I mean, how can we argue against Robert Quinn? I love Robert Quinn when he was here. He wasn't great against the run, but he can get to the passer. One got paid. All right, let's go to the second, obviously, person that we want to talk about here, the defensive ends, and that is one Demarcus Lawrence. Inside the numbers of Demarcus Lawrence: 21 tackles, 3 sacks, 27 pressures, 7 quarterback hits, 2 forced fumbles, a pick for a touchdown, and 14 stops. Played in only 7 regular season games, and then obviously the postseason game against the Niners, where I thought, aside from Micah Parsons, Randy Gregory was, LVE too was up there. Demarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, LVE were probably your most consistent. spelled it wrong. Your most consistent defenders in that game. Let's kind of go back on Demarcus Lawrence's year. He started off hot, right? With when I say hot, I mean he made a huge play against the Bucs on opening night of the NFL. Forced a fumble, and then in practice the next day or so, he suffered a foot injury, broke his foot that would sideline him for the rest of the year until December. Oh, but when he returned, you can tell he heard the chirps. You can tell he was hungry. You can tell he wanted to go out there and show that, hey, I'm still that guy. And D-Law, aside from Micah Parsons, to me, was your most consistent, productive, impactful defender when he returned. Period. But I think the overwhelming disconnect between Cowboys Nation isn't his play. Well, you know what? Some people don't like how he plays. That's true. Some people don't like how he plays. But I think for the most part, it's about the money, right? The money, as my guy from Vegas Vacation would say. Give me the money. There's a disconnect, Cowboys Nation, because of the cap hit, which is a big cap hit, but Dallas was likely going to make a move on that cap number regardless. It was structured that way. That's how you do it, right? Either you pull the trigger in regards to restructure, you pull the trigger in regards to cutting, you pull the trigger in regards to trading. There's a trigger there to help you out. So, $27 million cap hit. That's extremely high. I don't care who you are. I really don't like that number. So how do you manage that cap hit? There's three ways like we talked about. There's obviously A, the restructure. That's number one. B, flat out cutting him. Save you $19 million. Or C, trade him, which also saves you $19 million. The question comes, Cowboys Nation. What would you do with Demarcus Lawrence? That's a tricky one because I want to keep Demarcus Lawrence around, and I also want to re-sign Randy Gregory. I want to run this back with D-Law, Randy Gregory, and Micah Parsons. I do. I want to run this back because I think those three can really cause havoc with this front unit. But how do you do it? You restructure, all of them are tricky. You restructure Demarcus Lawrence's contract. You're kicking money down the line to a player that injury history is real, right? Now you got to kind of be like, oh, man, you've been getting hurt a lot in your career. You're, 29 now, 30, something like that. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to all of this. Yeah, you save some money with the restructure, but you also kick it down the line, which that's what teams do in the league. You cut them, obviously, that creates the void at the position for arguably your second best defensive player on the team. And then obviously you can trade him, try to get something. But is someone going to trade for him? You got to have a dance partner, and you got to have quality compensation. So what would you do with Demarcus Lawrence? Lance Bell says restructure. Let's see here. Keep D-Law says TC915. JP says keep him. Clumsy says trade. T-Mac says I want him back. JP says I want Randy Gregory so bad, but I don't trust him. Okay. Twan says, Okafor says keep him. Miss Angelica says keep him. A lot of people saying keep him. Trade for a top 19 pick. The cap hit is too high. The cap hit is the one that makes this thing so tricky, right? Like, obviously I want to keep Demarcus Lawrence, but you have to figure out a way to deal with that cap hit. So do you just restructure it and try to go all in to win this thing? Again, I'm not opposed to that. Y'all know me. I've been saying it for a long time. I'm a fan of less need. I ain't saying you got to be less, but I'm about accumulating all the talent and trying to win the damn Super Bowl. I know people can say, oh, well, it's going to hurt you down the line. And my rebuttal to that, Cowboys Nation, is always this. If it results in a Super Bowl win, do you really care? Do you? I know we talk about, hey, it can harm you for the next 5 to 10 years. We've been harmed for 26 years. How much more harm can you do? So give me all the talent. You said, Sky, what do you do? Restructure, cut, trade. As hard as it is for me to say it, because I know the ramifications later down the line, I would restructure because I want to keep him around. Use that money to help bring some people back. Go sign somebody if you want, whatever you need to do. I want to keep D-Law. I think D-Law is a really good player, really quality player. So I would do that. I'd restructure. What y'all got here? Z said, where'd you go? Restructure his contract. You do not get rid of D-Law. I'm there with you. Special K, man, we got a lot of questions regarding our DEs. Can we trust either one? That's why I wanted to start with these two, because like I said at the top of the show, during the season, you're not really thinking about all of this. Now the season's over. It's like you got some real decisions to make here. And it's possible both of these guys don't return. That would not shock me. What would shock me is none of them return. I would not go that route. If you're going to get rid of D-Law, bring back Randy at the least. I don't want to start over at that position. The other thing to think about, let's say said, I'll wait till we get let down the line, Sky. That's how I feel. If we're going to get let down anyway, then just let's go for the gusto. Let's go for it. But the other caveat to this situation is one, Micah Parsons, which when we get to linebackers, well, maybe I'll do that next. We'll talk about him because he could play a factor in this entire situation with both of these players, right? If you go into the season, and I'm not for this, saying, hey, he's going to be primary edge, then you can say, you know what? I don't got to bring one of these two back. I can just put him at primary edge, and I go into the offseason with just Jabril Cox as my linebacker. I don't want to do that. I want to keep Micah as that guy that can play both at the LB position and then rush the passer from there, or come down and play defensive end. The more the merrier is how I feel. Give me all the talent. But that is something that you can think about. Our guy B Bird,
Super chat.
Appreciate you for the donation. He says, Sky, name the team that is suffering from cap hell. That's just what management says to lowball the players. The names that are going to pop up after this season is going to be the Saints. They're in the cap hell, right? They're like 75 million over the cap. But I don't know that they're in cap hell. I don't know if cap hell is the reason why they're bad, is what I'm getting at. Like, I have a quarterback. The Packers are going to be another team that's going to be in the cap hell, right? But you're right. I think to an extent the salary cap is a myth. To an extent, it obviously exists because the league, the owners came to an agreement that we don't want to pay these players all this money, so we're going to put a cap on it. They tell you it's about keeping the league and wanting it to be parity and things like that. It hasn't worked in a way yet, but it was mostly because they don't want to eventually pay. And the way technology, the way the league popularity kept growing, they were going to have to pay these dudes MLB money at some point, so they capped it. Nonetheless, we've seen teams be able to manipulate the cap. This is no joke. The Chiefs, I believe, has something like $700. I'm not exaggerating. $700 on their cap last year. Went out, made a trade for one of the quality tackles in the league, re-signed him. Signed one of the most quality interior guys, really utility guys, and Joe Tooney, I think his name, to a nice contract, all right? With $700, $1 million on the cap. So they can definitely make these things jump. So I'm with keeping them, which means likely guys will have to restructure. And that's tough to say because I know he's getting up there in age. The injury history is real. I just think he's such a quality player. And give me all the quality players to try to win this thing. I'm at that point now, Cowboys Nation. Really, I mean, we draft well. I love that and everything. But we have a manager in Stephen Jones who's not going to go out and sign. He's not going to go out and sign a Demarcus Lawrence replacement on the talent level wise. He's not. So keep him. Keep all the good players that you already have and try to win this thing. Because they believe, hey, just keep on drafting, and they'll draft well. They'll hit. They'll continue to be right on the cusp of competing. But if you go look around the league, most teams sign or trade for guys that help them get over that hump. Dallas doesn't believe in it. It's archaic. It's goofy to me. And it's why they're always going to remain quasi-relevant, because they'll never be the 4-12 without a crazy injury, but they'll also never be the 13-3 Super Bowl champions the way they are currently constructing things, in my opinion. They have to have the ability, the balls, to step outside the box once or twice. You just have to. Rant done. I just feel that way, Cowboys Nation. All right, we got 757, and then Losen, Nacho. 757, what's up?
Hey, man, you know what? I've been listening to you,
You good,
and I
brother?
never hung up. I'm gonna give it to somebody else.
You already on? My bad.
Yeah,
Bro. I didn't. Even...
I'm driving. I never even hung the phone up, bro. I just been listening to you the whole time.
Gotcha, bro. All right, let's get to Los.
All right.
Good morning, Scott. Good morning.
What's up, man? How you feeling about this position, man?
Oh God, that's a little tough, but I mean, here's my notes for my thing. But I think keeping Landry is the most important thing that we should build off, because even though it's not an important stat that doesn't show on paper, it's collapsing the pocket and keeping that pressure honest. And I think Super Bowls have proven that time after time again. Even previous Super Bowl, if you put pressure on Mahomes, he can be human. So I think Randy has shown that ability to flip that side of the ball, and
No doubt about it.
And if we look at some film, we all know that Micah has taken some sacks for him, because Micah's football speed is at a whole different level. So let's be honest with that. And he has shown the ability to get a pick and cause a turnover. So I don't know, why would we think about, getting rid of a potential playmaker to cause a, play on downs? Because I think the most important thing that Cowboys have needed throughout the whole years is keeping a defense, honest, and keeping a sustaining turnovers.
Yeah.
Because before this year, Sky, what have we always struggled with?
Oh, look at that.
Turnover.
Randy Gregory making a play in the ground with his hand in there. Listen, I don't think there are a ton of general managers looking at defensive ends and saying quality pass rushers. Like Randy Gregory is a super quality pass rusher, and saying, you know what? He can't play the run like a defensive tackle. I don't want him. I guarantee you teams would love to have Randy Gregory on their team. It all depends on the money, as it always comes down to in the NFL, and his injury history.
Exactly, Sky. And I think the play that a lot of teams, I think, are looking at, which really stands out to me throughout the year, is where he laid out Mac Jones. Do you remember that play?
Oh, yeah, I showed it.
Just dumped off that line, just pancake Mac Jones, and he was like, "Welcome to the NFL." Man, that play was crazy. And, I think Randy does have that year, but I think it's going to come down to a coach to kind of – I think what Randy really struggles with is discipline with, getting those offsides at times. Now, I'm not going to go back into the past, but I know there were some offsides that were not on his. I know for a fact that that left tackle moved his, left leg first, but that's here and there. That's the past. So we're not going to focus on that. But
penalties is something that, if you want to bring up something that's a concerning aspect of Randy Gregory, it is the penalties, and that's not new. This is going back to last year, years before. Randy Gregory's always had that bonehead penalty or two that'll catch you during the season.
Exactly, and I think that comes with coaching. And I think we talked enough about coaching on that part, so I'm not going to focus on that. But I think that's an easable fix. I think, in my opinion, Scott, would you agree or disagree?
What, the penalties?
Yes, with discipline.
I don't know any more about easy fixes in regards to penalties. I mean, if that's the case, this should have been easy for the last 20 years. But for whatever reason, this franchise just has the petulant to get a flag hanging over their head and lead the league or whatever. So is it easy fix? I mean, maybe. But if it was that easy, why wasn't it fixed?
Yeah, you got a point there, Sky.
Yeah,
Can't argue with that.
You heard what
Yeah,
Jerry
you
said.
can't
Jerry said, I'm not with this whole let's fix it in the offseason crap. You should have fixed it after week 1. You should have fixed it after the sixth game of the year. Well, we're fixing it now. You know, not saying you, but Mike McCarthy's the one who said our number one focus this offseason, which is another thing that rubbed me the wrong way. Your number one focus is penalties? Listen, bro, I 100% understand. You had a terrible year with penalties. That's your number one focus, though? All right. I hope that's just what he's saying to everybody else, because there's some other things I would like them to address, too.
Yeah. And I'm not into numbers, but I know there are players that are going to, let go. I know Watkins, a one-year deal. LVE, I know he's been LVE earned that bag at that last game, so you got to give him his props making that third down play. Neil, Curse. I know some of these guys are not going to be on the team, so shout out to them and what they did this year. But I hope we can build throughout this draft. And, for one, Sky, I'm not saying don't draft the O-line, but if the O-lines do go fall early and we have an opportunity to bring a potential, like a high safety, grade, please, I hope Cowboys do draft someone that, because I feel like keeping the deep ball and running game honest is a huge part of that safety play. And I think that's something that we've always been missing out on. So I'll leave you with these two questions, Sky. If from our free agent pool, and if you can only sign 3 players, which 3 are you signing? And in your opinion, what's harder to build off an off season? Would it be an offense or a defense?
Hold on.
These guys.
Wait. Can you repeat?
Go ahead.
Those are huge questions there. The first, I got to find our free agents, but you said which 3 free agents, and then what was the second one?
The second one would be if you were, to build an off season, right? Which priority would you focus on, building offense or defense throughout the draft?
That's a loaded question. With this team, or you mean in general?
This team.
All right, I'll try to think about that one because I think there's needs on both ends. Yeah,
right.
that's a tough one. All right, brother. The 3 free agents I would want. Randy Gregory, number 1. Bring him back. Oh, what happened to my pen here? I'm trying to find these free agents. I would like to bring back Ced Wilson. But I gotta find the free agents before I answer that question, because that's a loaded question. There's 21 free agents, and for this team in the draft, I don't know that I want to focus on one or the other. Just give me some good players at this point. Y'all know me. I love safeties. The Cowboys don't. I think we need a left guard unless they move Lyle Collins inside. We need tackle depth. So that's offense. You're going to eventually have to probably draft a receiver at some point on day 2 or 3. You need a bunch of linebackers, so more defense. You're probably going to draft a running back some point later in the draft. I think they should. So I wouldn't narrow it down to one or the other. I think they need pieces on both sides of the ball, and just take the best player. I know that's so easy, right? Oh, best player available. Yada yada yada. I get it. You're picking at 24 now. You're not picking at 10. You're not picking at 7. You're picking at 24 in each round. So the odds of you getting that top 10 talent in that round, teams can't draft. It can fall. It can happen. So you got to kind of play it. There's 23 different players that are going to get picked for you unless you trade. So it's really hard to narrow that down. Last year, a little bit easier because you were at 10. This year at 24. So that's going to be tough. Nacho, let me get you on here while I look up some of these free agents. What's up, Nacho?
My man, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good stuff. Good, great topics since yesterday. I'm going to concentrate on 2 things. Absolutely, I think we are at a time where the decision making, and a lot of these free agent moves are going to be very crucial in terms of our future and what we do. I do like the idea of having, Demarcus Lawrence, Gregory, and Parsons, and just building around them. As Jerry does not have time to waste. In terms of the callers calling in and saying, which free agents, we want to bring back, I'm going to say I would go Gregory, I would go Curse at safety. What he did with Kelsey and what he did with Kittle, and how he kind of, in a sense, kind of shut them down was amazing to me. I think Curse, what he brings to that mentality, I think we need more players like that. And then it's a toss-up between maybe Schultz and maybe Gallup. For me, those would be the three.
It's tough. He only giving us three options, man. There's a lot out there, and I got Randy and Curse as 1, 2, right. And then I'm struggling between. Right. I'm struggling between said Gallup. I think Schultz is. You got Anger, right? It was a Pro Bowl punter, but he's a punter, right? It's tough. If you only bring back 3 of those guys, that's a tough one. Here's a funny thing KD brought up that I didn't think about when I was producing that show. I'm like, that's a good point. Michael Gallup, because of that injury, it's very possible you could end up getting him for way lower than he would have went had he played an entire year. I mean, way lower. Not only did he get hurt, missed 7 games in the first part of the year, then at the back end, he tears his ACL late, which means he's not going to probably play until September, which means he needs to be somewhere to rehab, right? His new team is likely not going to get him on the field until the regular season. So you're kind of looking at likely PUP list 6 weeks into the. So it's very possible you could get Michael Gallup on a 1-year prove it type of deal where he's familiar with the city, familiar with the quarterback, familiar with the system, the players, his buddies are down here, et cetera, et cetera. He can rehab. And then when it's time for him to come back, you don't have to rush him back. You can put him on the PUP list, and you know what you got when he comes back, and try to get his bag once he returns. So that's something interesting to think about with Michael Gallup. You may be able to get him for a Juju Smith-Schuster type of deal.
I've heard of that as well, and absolutely, I think that would be a blessing if we can do that, without a doubt. Let me go ahead and chime in on I think it was yesterday's topic, in terms of this Mike McCarthy and this kind of Jerry Jones kind of not being obviously sick to his stomach the way most Cowboy fans and we all are in terms of how our season ended. I tell you what, if we're going to continue to allow Mike McCarthy to condone this type of undisciplined and wanting to, I'm going to focus on the off season with these penalties. And to Jerry's point, if you didn't do it while you were on the season, like let's just say an example, the Kansas City Chiefs, they were struggling early, and then they found a way, and then their defense picked it up, their offense picked it up, and look at where they're at now. So they found a way. Like most teams this season, it was such a bizarre season in the NFL that a lot of the good teams were struggling. Then they picked it up, and then the really good, I'd like to say the really good structured, coach-led football teams found a way to peak at the right time. We did not. When we hired McCarthy, for myself, I gave him a 2-year window. That 2-year window is here, and to me, this is a time for Jerry to send a message not only to every player in that locker room, but to Cowboy fan base. If you can, you make a statement, you make a move now. I'm sorry, but you get rid of McCarthy and you bring in who you need to bring in. And this is a time where a lot out there is being said about, of course, a potential, that marriage of Sean Payton and all that.
That's the move.
You can call the Jim Harbaugh, the Jim Harbaughs of the world. This is the time to make a statement. And Jerry's not Steven has come on, of course, doing the company line. Absolutely, he's coming back. But Jerry's not doing that. So I'm very hopeful as a fan that something's going on and something might be coming up here.
See,
whether
that's what he got you.
You know what I'm saying?
He got you. He got you. You said you're hopeful. That's all he wants from the nation is for you to be hopeful that something positive will happen. I think in order for him to get back to genuine hope in Cowboys Nation, he has to make a drastic move. Honestly, I mean, let's just be real, Cowboys Nation. I get it. For the most part, most people say, well, as long as Jerry's the guy, it doesn't matter. Cool. 100% agree with that. But for this short tunnel vision window, if we run this thing back with the exact same staff, sans not talking about Quinn, we all agree Quinn was awesome. But with this exact same offensive structure, McCarthy, Philbin, Nussmeier, Kellen Moore, if we run that back, how much hope do you really have, right? Like, how much hope do you really have? If you want to put hope back into you, Nacho, Skywalker, and a lot of other fans out there, a drastic move has to happen. It just has to. Think about what happened when we fired Jason Garrett. You brought in McCarthy. There was some people who wasn't fans of McCarthy, but a lot of people, that hope came back because you got rid of a 10-year mediocre, stagnant coach, and you brought in a Super Bowl guy, things like that. I feel like if he were to fire McCarthy and bring in, I guess, a Harbaugh or a Peyton or somebody of that nature, it could be false hope. It can be whatever. You could be hoodwinked, but there will be some hope that would be restored in the nation moving forward.
Amen. 100. So let's we'll read between the tea leaves as we go along. We wait and see what's going to happen with this whole, coaching carousel and what have you. But I think for our salary cap, it's going to be a different football team. We're not going to have the same players there. We had the talent on paper and we failed. That's the bottom line. And now it's time to see whether indeed he's going to buy him one more year, and then they're going to make some coaching changes, or they're going to make a move. So we'll wait and see. But hey, thank you very much and have a great day.
Thanks, Nacho. Show. Thanks, brother. Yeah, man, I'm with you, man. I mean, it'd be a statement, but ultimately, we know what the real statement needs to be. I guarantee you, people would absolutely love Jerry if he came out publicly and said, I'm stepping back. Like, literally stepping all the way back. Here's the GM. Here's the yada yada. I feel like he'd be heralded. They'll build a statue of Jerry Jones right now just for stepping back. But no, seriously though, that's the real statement, right? But if you want to restore hope back into the nation, you're probably going to have to make a major move, and just have a hard time believing he's going to do that. Because if you get rid of McCarthy for Sean Payton, Sean Payton not coming here getting emasculated for one Kellen Moore. Are you kidding me? It's not happening. So if he's going to do that, then he has to be willing to say, I'm going to cut ties with the My Way era, which is Kellen Moore. God dang, that man's ego. Phil says he's content with losing. Acts like he's not, but he is. Yeah, I feel like genuinely he is upset right away, but then he realizes, what the hell I got to be mad for? I'm a billionaire. I got all this real estate. Look at the stadium. They're still taking it. That hope, somebody laughed when I said he got you. Yeah, he got me too. They get me every year because I love this team. I love this sport. I love talking about them, things like that. They get us every year, right? But I tell you what, I do think it's coming to a tipping point after this season because you had so much talent, and it feels like the meddling and things like that kind of screwed this up a little bit here. So yeah, it's my hope has taken a bit of a hit. I'm just looking for something to kind of bring it back. Bring it back. Like we're going to bring back Mr. Moore. What's up, Mr. Moore?
My guy, Young Jedi, what's good?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, I'm good. Listen, Jerry, I would categorize him as a prima donna. He wants to be in the spotlight. He is a billionaire. He's all Cowboys. Everything Cowboys. We got to focus on Jerry. That was our worst thing that occurred, because if we go back to the 90s, we probably would have ran with Jimmy Johnson. Probably would have ran 4 straight, because we went to, we wouldn't probably go on 4 straight. If Jerry let that ego, I have to be here. It's me, all that. If he just got out of the way, and one thing you said in terms of if he gets out of the way to get a statue, I think he will wait for that to happen, and he won't do it. You know what I mean? So listen, in terms of restructuring, and I hate the fact that even in terms of D-Law, how hard he went to get his money and thinking that, well, I got my money, I'm going to restructure. I kind of reminiscent of D-Ware, where we was like, listen, take a pay cut. You know, he deserves his money.
That's not happening. Pay cuts only happen to you're talking about veteran guys, probably in the twilight of their careers, things like that. Asking these players, I think that's criminal, in my opinion. Don't ask me to take no damn pay cut. You agreed to this contract. Y'all can get rid of me at any point. No, I'm not. A pay cut? Now, our structure. I allow you to get some cap money now so that you can do what you need to do. But literally saying, you know what, I'm going to give you $1 billion franchise, you who's making money off of us, money back for free. Me personally, Mr. Moore, I ain't doing that.
Understandable, and even in terms of where D-Ware, he wound up leaving. It's like, nah, get out of here. I earned all that bread that
Facts.
I got. I'm not doing that. So that's what. And he left, went to Denver, got a chip. One thing, Sky, I just I hope that we can some way finagle the cap where we're able to keep all the sign Randy. We got D-Law, get a restructure, and try to pass it on like we did with Ty Smith, like we did with Martin, where we restructured those contracts so therefore we can in turn sign all the people that we need.
Yeah,
I think that the team is team friendly, where they are saying they don't know we want to win. So therefore, I think we have willing participants that's going to do that. Now, just in terms of finagling and all that,
the players don't care about restructuring because they're getting their money. You know what I mean? So they don't care about that. They do have triggers in a lot of these high price contracts that could give them $45 million in cap money. So it's possible. It's just a matter if they want to do it. So again, a lot of teams have these triggers. A lot of these teams can move money around to be fine. Dallas and Steven, I tell you, it's one thing I always give Stephen Jones credit for. He knows how to manipulate the cap. He knows how to work it. He knows how to put these contracts in a position to where it may look crazy, but when you dive deep into it, get out of it at a certain point, you can move money around. So I'm not worried about them getting the money they want. It's just a matter of if they want to do that. And that's how I feel about them getting a guy they want too, or re-signing a guy. They can get who they want. They can re-sign who they want. It's a matter of if they actually want to do it.
Okay, my question to you is, wanting to do it, why wouldn't they want it? Because, that for years, this is like probably the first year that we have both sides of the ball at a top 10, great level, where both sides of the ball. So why would you, if this is a recipe to get to the chip, why would you not remix it and bring it back?
I'm doing the money sign right now. That's why. Stephen Jones has a threshold. It's almost tried and true. I think me and Stevie Mack were talking about this, but if you go back and look at a lot of the contracts pretty much post Brandon Carr, which spooked the hell out of him, most of the contracts of free agents that he signs are they're not very high. And the guys that he re-signs are usually guys that he's drafted, to major deals. I mean, there's guys who's been productive here that he hasn't really re-signed. I mean, Chris Canty, and they even drafted him, but recently, we'll go Robert Quinn. Came in, had 14 sacks. Robert Quinn got the bag. He wasn't about to pay that money for Robert Quinn, right? Jaron Curse. We'll see what happens with Curse. But Kurtz could be looking to get the bag. I'll tell you right now, if he goes over a certain threshold, I have a hard time believing Steven is going to bring him back. Even guys he did draft, like the Byron Joneses and things like that, if there's a certain threshold, they would have signed Byron Jones for $10 million. They ain't going to sign him for 19. So there's a certain threshold that Steven hangs on to, and I get it. So I get it. But there's also certain players you have to have that effort in your system and say, man, he's just so good. I want to bring him back, or I want to sign this guy in free agency, and we'll figure the rest out. So that's why they wouldn't do it, Mr. Moore, is the money.
Okay.
That's just how Steven operates, fam.
No, well, his pops is getting older, and we're close. We're very close, and just even how things transpire in the playoffs and everything. No, to my opinion, no other team was as complete as we are, and then going further, I think that we would have definitely put the beats on everybody. Where we would have been going to the NFC Championship, even in the Super Bowl. That's my opinion. I think we would have. And one thing, my final thing, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we get rid of Kellen Moore. I just even in terms of the regular season, then coming into the playoffs, we talked about this before. Just the fact that what happened in regular season transitioned into the playoffs, he's not that guy. And then even to the point, he's pass happy. That's good, for Dak. But as a team in its total, we need the running game. We need balance.
Yeah,
that's all I got. Buddy.
I'm with you, Mr. Moore.
My guys, young Jedi, be breezy. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm tuned in. Even though I'm not chopping it. I'm chopping it late, but still, I'm tuned in.
Hey, you here, bro. You here. That's all that matters. Appreciate you.
Be breezy. Salute.
Thanks, brother. There's a couple comments in here. Them KJs. I like this question here. How you feel, Sky, about Byron Leftwich, Anthony Lynn, D'Amico Ryans, Eric Bieniemy? I'm gonna throw in Brian Flores. There's no reason we should be jumping up at the Peyton hype train. He's still on a contract. I'm with you. I personally, listen, I would love Peyton, sure, but like you said, one, he's under contract. Two, feels like Earl Thomas to me all over again. So we're talking about things that really are long shots. Getting D'Amico Ryans as a head coach, not a long shot. Eric Bieniemy's not a long shot. If you really wanted to hire one of those guys, you can. You don't need to wait for a contract to be out because they're coordinators. So there are and that's why I said if they get rid of Mike, I think there are quality guys that I would love to take a shot at. And I'd be okay with getting rid of Mike because there's other guys out there that, hey, let's see what happens. If they keep him, then they need to restructure this offensive structure. I don't think they should bring back this unit again. This staff, how it is, it needs a shaking up. But yeah, I agree with you, them KJs. There's just quality guys out there. And then JP said there must be some agreement from the league to not overspend on coaches. Otherwise, I don't see why Jerry wouldn't pay crazy money for the elite coaches. There is not a cap on coaches. The problem isn't always the money, right? Like there are definitely backdoor deals is what I call it. The Jason Garrett, for instance, right? Hey, Jay, we know Baltimore wants to hire you as a head coach, but just hold tight. In fact, I'm going to make you the highest paid assistant in the league, which is right up there with most of the head coaches in the National Football League. Just hold tight. Continue to develop as a play caller, and you'll get your shot at head coach. I promise you. Right? Backdoor stuff like that. But yeah, he can throw all the money in the world at Dan Quinn. But if Dan Quinn wants to run his own organization, if he wants to be a head coach, the money won't trump that. For instance, he say, hey, I'll pay you $15 million to be our defensive coordinator. The Giants say, we'll pay you $12 million a year to be our head coach, and we'll give you a 7-year contract. Most assistant contracts go, 2 to 3 years. So what you going to take? If you want to be a head coach again, you're going to go be a head coach. The best way to do it to me is, if you want to keep Quinn, if we're talking about Quinn, get rid of McCarthy and then promote Dan Quinn if you want him to be the head coach. But again, there's so many people out there that I would love to look at, man. Love to look at. Steven says Kellen Moore is going on his 3rd year as OC, young talent. Yeah, he's got some developing to do. But I would love to see him develop somewhere else. I'm good. I'm good. I'd rather him figure it out on the job elsewhere. Again, I say a lot. Bring me in a system that is tried and proven in this league. Whatever you want to call Kellen's system, or is it Linehan system, or whatever, it is not tried and proven in this window of football, this era of football. It's not. Kellen, what has Kellen Moore done? What has Scott Linehan done? What has Jason Garrett's offenses done? Really? And granted, Jason Garrett goes back a little bit to the Ernie Zampese and the Eric Coryell, which we still have. We still have that, by the way. A lot of people wonder why. And again, I'm getting into nerd stuff, so y'all just bear with me. This is silly nerd stuff here. But people wonder, why are we holding the ball? Or why is it 1, 2, 3 and the ball's not coming out? That's a lot of the Eric Coryell concepts where they want to get 2 guys running deep, and that is the first read. You got to wait for them to get open. And he also likes to tie, which, again, a lot of schemes do that now. This is kind of regular in the sense of tying your drop back with the timing route, right? You're throwing to a spot, you're not throwing to the wide receiver. And there was a lot of times I would see, I think even Kurt Warner pointed this out. The drop backs were not matching the routes. And that would result into 1, 2, 3. There's nobody even looking for the ball at this point. So again, it's just this weird scheme. I don't know if it's this cutesiness, this trying to be smart, this whole 4x1, and very just weird scheme that it was so weird. The league was like, what is happening here? I can't figure it out just yet. I see what's happening here. Let's adjust. They adjusted. I don't believe Kellen did, and I don't believe Dak was able to adjust within it because I don't think that's not his game, right? I don't think that's his game. We can't, I'm not going to pretend that. I'm a big Dak fan, but I don't want him going up there being Peyton Manning every snap. I just don't. So apologies for going into this situation. And see, that's the thing. We're talking about yards, right? And we're talking about the number 1 offense means jack crap if you can't be the number 1 offense against good defenses. Means jack crap. Denver, how great was that number 1 offense? Arizona, how great was that number 1 offense? Not New Orleans. Well, New Orleans, you want to really talk about New Orleans, it wasn't so great. San Fran, how great was that number 1 offense? Kansas City, how great was that number 1 offense? I get it. They lost their receiver. I'm just saying. We can go back to 2019 if you want. Same situations were happening against some of these better teams. So I don't believe this is a tried and true system. I've seen tried and true systems go up against great defenses, good defenses. Granted, sometimes a quarterback can overcome all that stuff, but we realize, right, that this quarterback obviously needs help. And it's going to be in the schematic department. We got enough talent. So, I'd be on the whole, hey, number 1 offense thing if we actually were the number 1 offense against good teams. I'd be with you, right there with you, Steven. But looking back at this season, I don't give a damn about that number 1 offense tag because when your defense and special team scores 9 touchdowns and when your defense is giving you a ton of turnovers and you're running up the scores against some of the mediocre teams and poor teams, that's going to give you that, right? But when you get figured out, that's when I want to know, are you really the number 1 offense? Or are you just a front runner? The real number 1 offense is the Chiefs. They got figured out. They got punched in the mouth early in the season. They couldn't fit. How do we adjust to the way teams are playing us? Both the quarterback and the OC and the head coach and the team in general figured it out while the defense held it down. And now who's questioning that offense? That's all I'm saying. I had 214 on hold, so let me get to you, 214. 214. Yep, you on.
Oh, what's up, Still, man? Good morning, too, man.
Good morning, brother.
Man, I'm just calling. I've been listening to you, and forgive me, man. I'm in my work vehicle right now, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm hearing everything. And,
You good?
What you touched on earlier, where you pretty much was talking about how there's been way more consistency on the offensive side within the last 5 to 10 years than there's been on the defensive side. And I know you just talked about Dan Quinn with him leaving and everything, and everybody kind of see that happening. But I would think with a guy that came in and transformed this defense within a year, there would be a little bit more push and effort to try to keep that guy around. You know what I mean? And to me, I just don't understand that. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna just be honest all the way. From top to bottom. The whole talk of Amari Cooper, like people want him to go or like let's cut him. Like we all remember how this offense was before he got here, and it's just asinine to me to even think of to be like, oh, well, let Coop walk and we'll be okay with CD and everybody else. Like, no, man, like I don't, in my heart of hearts, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I'm just like, we got to keep Coop because, if we, and you look at film, man, and I really dig the way you scrub through everything, like you watch the film and everything.
Try.
And I'm going to just say something that's probably not popular, but Coop is not throwing himself the ball. And if we're going to be real about it, Dak has to learn how to trust. Dak has to learn how to trust his receivers.
No, that's popular.
I mean, it's no secret that right. It's no secret that Dak only throws. I ain't gonna say only, but he has a knack of only throwing the ball to receivers if they're just wide open or if they're they're like barely covered or anything. Like Dak has to like be able to throw receivers open, man. Like when I look in the last 2 years, granted I get the injury and talking to some of my guys, man, it's like, okay, yeah, he had the ankle injury and he had the shoulder stuff, so it's a possibility that was dealing with some stuff this year. But at the same time, man, like he got paid.
I don't think he was dealing with nothing. I don't think he was dealing with. He got hurt. I'm not going to use injury as an excuse. I'm not, because he was running fine. He was making throws fine. Again, I think people are trying to figure out what went wrong, and they're ignoring what I think is the number one problem with him in the second half of the year, and it was decision making. It wasn't accuracy. It wasn't his mechanics. It wasn't his cap. It wasn't any of that. It was flat out his decision making. What made him, because the things you're saying right now, lead receivers, he does that. I mean, he absolutely does that. He did it the first 8 weeks of the season. The problem was his decisions were way more sharper, mostly pre-snap, because teams were playing this team differently. When he became very inconsistent to me is when he was not sure of himself, and that is a decision-making process. He would not go through the same decision-making processes or reads, progressions, whatever, with the same confidence that he had in weeks 1 through 7 or 8 or whatever it was, as he did in the back half of the season. So I'm not going to give him the injury excuse. I'm not saying you are. I'm not going to give him any of that other stuff. I think flat out his decision-making hit the tank, and he could never get out of it. Honestly, you could hear him in the press conferences saying kind of being a little bit in denial. He would say, yeah, we got to get better and things like that. But he also would say, oh, well, you got to watch this, you got to watch that. Yeah, Dak, we know we got to watch this and watch that. But, brother, there's obviously something going on. And, they do have what they call sports therapists and things like that. Maybe he should have went and seen someone to get out of his own damn head. And that's not a knock on him. Right, that's just real life. Professional athletes, they go see sports therapists. But his decision-making process, to me, brother, it's what hit the tank the most, and that's what made his part of the offensive failure go down.
Right, and like what you just said with the decision-making and all that, like I said, it goes back to being able to trust your receivers. You know what I mean? Like you know, every receiver is not going to be just wide open. You got to throw your receivers open. And I'm kind of glad you touched on that, man. And one more thing, if I may add, like I get the talk of Micah Parsons and going back to what you were saying with, going back to what you were saying with Randy Gregory and Demarcus Lawrence. In my opinion, and I play ball, I play college ball, I play a little bit in the CFL and type of stuff like that. Micah he's a pure linebacker, and it's almost like a bonus to get a guy that can also rush the passer, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't want to put Micah in this position of, oh, well, let's just let him play defensive end. Like, no, like, this guy got speed. Let him be able to cover these athletic tight ends. Let him be able to cover these running backs. Granted, if, you're kind of slim at the pass rushing position, then, put him down there and let him rush the passer. But for me and for what I like, I want to see Micah kind of be that true linebacker. You know what I mean? Like Ray Lewis, Patrick Willis, you know what I mean? Those type of guys. And granted, if you need him to rush the passer, that's fine. But I feel like that goes back to an organization being able to put the right pieces. That way you're not forcing Micah to have to scramble between linebacker, rushing the passer, all that type of thing.
I'm
that's
with
just my opinion, man.
Nope.
What? Go ahead.
I don't know if you wanted me to respond to that part, unless you're still going.
No, still go for it, man.
No, I'm 100% with you. I think he's too talented to box into one position. Even linebacker, I think he's too talented to just box him there. But that's where I would rather his primary position remain. Think about this for a second. We go back and watch that Niners game. The Cowboys got out schemed in the first quarter and some change.
Right.
Majority of their rushing yards were schematically, they were whooped. After that, Micah Parsons shut all that shit down. So, I mean, almost single-handedly shut all that down.
Yeah.
So, if you remove Micah Parsons from back there, there's a high chance they would have ran for 279 yards as opposed to 169. But I think about 100 of that happened in the first quarter and a half. But once it got figured out, it got figured out. So, yeah, I would keep Micah there for exactly what you said. He can cover the backs. Hell, he can cover slot guys. He can rush from the middle. He can rush from the end. He is the ultimate chess piece, the queen on the board. You don't know where he's going to be, but wherever he's going to be, he's going to do it better than anybody you know.
Right. He's that joker, man. And you got to, like, I think you said something a couple months back, like, teams have to be able, like, granted, he might be just the best defensive player besides Diggs, but you got to let teams, worry about Parsons. You know what I mean? Like, you got to – it's almost like you got to put the fear and nightmares in teams to be like, oh, well, we got a scheme for Micah because, he's a game wrecker. You know what I mean? But and if I can, one more thing still, I'm going to hang up to your point. All right, see if you can, just rebuttal or anything. My thing is, and it's not a popular, thing because anytime you talk about Dak, whether it's good or bad, you'll get stuff. Yeah. But in my opinion, man, I've never heard, Tom Brady being, and I could be wrong, but I've never heard Tom Brady being the highest paid quarterback, even when he was with New England. Tom Brady always, put some of that money to the side to be like, hey, I need these pieces, whether it's the offensive line, because, my background is offensive line. So if I'm building a team, I'm building the offensive line, defensive line first, and then everything else is coming together. But to me, and I get it, Dak just got paid and whatnot, but at some point, Dak, Jerry Jones, whoever it may be, people got to realize, and it's no knock on Dak. I'm just saying it, he's an average quarterback, okay? I'm just going to say it. He's a bus driver. Being that said,
wait, that's two different things. That's two different things. Let's not disrespect the game managers. I think Tom Brady was an excellent game manager for the majority of his career. Russell Wilson managed the game, won the Super Bowl. Ben Roethlisberger managed the game, won the Super Bowl. There's a lot of game managers that won Super Bowls earlier in their career. But the average part is you think he's average.
Yeah, hey,
okay.
I mean, you're right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying those are two different things to me. Those are two different things to me. You could be a Super Bowl winning game manager. You know what I mean? I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But you believe he's average. I'm not here to change your mind.
I hear. So being like I said that, say this, if they can find a way, and I get he just got paid, but he's not the type of guy. And I'm just saying, as of right now, not saying that he can be. Like the sky's the limit. But as of right now, you know, we got to put like some of this money to put the right pieces around him. You know what I mean? Like, got to make sure Coops. More importantly to me, get that offensive line together, man. Like,
brother. Hold on. All right, now, all right, because I want you to realize you said shouldn't be paid because we gotta pay other people to keep the. You do realize La'el Collins, Tyron Smith, Zach Martin were all signed prior to Dak Prescott, right? Like they're technically signed for the next 3 to 5 years, right?
His guys. Right. Yeah. It's like his guys, but
okay,
at the same
time, hold on. That's one. That's one. Amari Cooper is under contract while Dak Prescott is under contract, so you don't really got to worry about him if you want to keep Cooper, right? CeeDee Lamb is on a rookie deal. Don't got to worry about re-signing CeeDee Lamb. He's on a rookie deal. Your running backs, which I tell you, one person who is literally just flat out matrix avoided all criticism in the offseason so far. Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott is your $90 million running back. I'm just saying.
I'm glad you touched on it.
Hold on. Let me finish my point. And that's no knock on Zeke. I'm just saying that boy duck and dodge it, bro. But anyway, so Zeke is paid. Tony Pollard
he did play on one leg.
He did. I'm just joshing. I'm joshing. But so Tony Pollard is under contract. Dalton Schultz, who you thought was your tight end, not Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin was signed.
Is it Blake Jarwin? Yeah.
Blake Jarwin was signed, so he was under contract. Granted, we know he's the injury history now, so Dalton is a guy. So that is so integral to this offense can the Cowboys not pay because of Dak Prescott? Because I just named you the entire core of the offense who is under contract for the next 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, right. Okay, so being that said, in my opinion, I would move Collins to left guard. Put your cousin out there, you know, let's still play right tackle. And, you know, for the most part, you know, and I guess with the money moving around, find a way to put some of that money on the defensive side because, granted, you got some young guns on defense, but with this Randy versus Demarcus Lawrence, if I'm being honest, I'm a straight shooter, man. I'm letting D-Law walk. I know it's not popular, but D-Law is a top 5 run stopper in the game. There's no stopping that or denying that. Okay. But as far as a pass rusher, he's middle of the pack. You know what I mean? And that's just – to me, Randy is a better – that's no secret there that he is Demarcus Lawrence. But for the last 2 to 3 years, I'm thinking of like, hey, man, we paid D-Law this money, and he's produced maybe half of that. You know what I mean? And
how you want to replace him? Just a question on that one.
I heard you say cut, trade, or I forgot the third option you said.
Restructure.
My thing was if you can trade, restructure. And I feel you with when you pay a guy, you know, most guys are not gonna take that type of pay cut. You know what I mean? But at the same time, most teams, most dominant teams where they need the pieces to be there, some guys are saying, okay, I give up an extra $2 or $3 million so y'all can bring this guy or bring something back. There has to be some type of.
My question is, how do you replace him? Are you just replacing him with the draft? Is that what you want to do?
So I was kind of bummed out when I heard Bradley Anae left. Like I was a big,
he gone.
fan of him. Like I was thinking he could have been a good rotation piece. You do got Golston, Demarcus Armstrong. He's gone. So. It's tough to say as of right now because I.
So just kind of take that loss essentially.
Right. But if there's a way you can trade a guy and get something back for him, you know that'll work. But I mean, I would rather have him than not have him. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd rather have D-Law there than not have him. But
I thought you said you wanted. I thought you said you wanted to let him go.
I mean, that's just me. You know what I mean? Because right now I can't think of any guys that are available right now, like off the top of my head, that's going into next season. But I saw some guys like, well, if you could trade, get a good high pick for him, I'm all for that. You know what I mean? But I'd rather keep Randy. In my opinion, I'd rather keep Randy than D-Law, and that's just me. You know what I mean? That's just my preference. But
Okay.
you know, I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up now, man. I'm gonna get back to where I'm gonna continue to listen to the show. Man, I just want to tell you, Law. Excuse me. I said Law.
Damn, I got the beard, man.
No, excuse me. I'm in my work day, so I'm not looking at my phone or nothing. So I apologize. Still, I just want to tell you, man, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I didn't get a chance to talk to you when you first moved down here to Texas, man. Welcome to Texas. And it's just a blessing, man, to even be on the show and talk to you, man. I hope you just have a blessed day, man. Have a great day.
Appreciate you. You as well, man. Thank you for the support. Y'all awesome, man. You too. See what's different about my show is I'm gonna let you talk, right? But we're gonna have a conversation on air, and that's what I love about it. Because sometimes I learn things, from y'all, and y'all know me. I'm always gonna push back. Yeah, it just is what it is. And then I'm like, okay, I hear you out. The response that I'm getting is that we really don't know who to replace so and so with just yet, and we'll do a free agency series as well. We'll do some free agent focus where we'll talk about specific positions and players like that. You gotta have a plan, right? When you want to get rid of so and so and so and so. What is your plan of attack? Get rid of D-Law, cool, right? Save $19 million. How do you replace that? Because if it's in-house, almost fact, right? Like you're going to downgrade. I like I like Golston. I like him. Probably a downgrade. Anae's not here, but he'd have been a downgrade too. Armstrong, downgrade. We've seen all these. They're downgrades, right? There is free agency option. This is why I asked him. I thought he was going to say a free agent, but I was going to say, well, Stephen Jones now has to want to pay that free agent price. There is a name, however, that I think if you were to let go of D-Law, you could bring in, and he plays it very similarly as D-Law. And you probably can get him for a cheap deal because he's been getting signed for the last 3 years on cheap deals. And that is one. And it just slipped my mind. Jadeveon Clowney. My bad, y'all. Jadeveon Clowney is a guy that you can probably bring in here that is extremely similar to D-Law. More of your natural left end type of guy, but he's got some more athletic abilities. He's not going to be a super double-digit sack guy at this point. Can play the run very well, can get after the passer, can be a playmaker. Also injury concerns. He's kind of a D-Law clone in that sense. So you want to get rid of some of these good players on the team, really good players on the team. What is your contingency plan is what I want to know. Sean Moyer with the $5 donation.
Super chat.
Trade Coop for O-line help or our other receivers have developed. Dak can't throw at all without blocking. Running lanes need help too. Run the ball. Yeah, offensive line is one of those positions where we definitely need to not rehaul it, but we need to tweak it. I think the easiest solution to start to get better on the line, slide Lyle in at guard, put Still at right tackle, and now you got some stability. Granted, you hope Lyle doesn't get suspended or some crap like that. The left tackle and the center are the positions you got to have conversations about. You could technically go in with Tyron, Lyle, Biadish, Zach, and Steele. And for the majority of the league, that's a solid line. That's a solid, really good line. It's just a matter of, will that line hold up? Will it hold up? Because your left tackle, we know, can get funny. Your left guard at that point, we know he's had some injury things and suspensions. You don't know if it's going to hold up. Some of y'all have, your feelings on Jadeveon Clowney, which I'll do it. We're going to actually do videos and things like that on now. I'm interested to see what y'all think. Clowney under $10 million rotational piece that's going to want 12. I don't even think he got that last year though, but he did have a good year this year. Let's see what y'all say about Clowney. I'll take Clowney if the price is right and better than D-Law's contract. I think it would be. Like, I'm just spitballing here, but I think Clowney's contract would be one of those team-friendly 1-year deal type of things. I don't think you're going to really sign Jadeveon Clowney for no 4-year contract. Maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of teams aren't sold on him long term. They don't trust him, and that's why you've seen him be on 3 teams in the last 3 years or 4 teams in the last 4 years, something like that. Browns, Seahawks, Titans, Seattle. Or Browns, Seahawks, Titans, and Houston. In the last 4 or 5 years, he's been on 4 teams. So there's obviously some cause for concern. Yeah, he is a little wishy-washy. He good, though. He had a good season. If you're talking about Jadeveon Clowney. All right, man, listen, I got 2 more I got to get through here. We're going to end the show. And then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll speak on the depth of this defensive end position. But let me get to these 2 callers real fast, man. One is 912. Whoa. 912, you there? 912 is he got something going on at the crib. D Shift, what's up, brother?
What's up, Scott? Man, I think we're in a good position despite all the doom and gloom. We're a team that's capable of beating bad teams, so I think that's the first start, right? As bad of that phrase was, that was kind of the war cry for the other side, right? Was y'all only beat bad teams, but part of it is like last year, y'all want to go back to, we were getting beat by bad. We were a bad team,
We were a bad team, man.
So it was an even matchup. So I think there's a couple guys, man. I feel like if you ask yourself, if we would have taken this person out the mix this year for a long period of time, would you have been less successful? And I think we got the answer with that on La'el Collins and Demarcus Lawrence. I keep D-Law. I'm not tripping on earning the money at the end of the day that we have on the table, because at the end of the day, once you save that money, what are you going to do with it? You're not going to sign no guy in free agency, because teams tend to keep those type of guys, or, they got the franchise tag.
I think the D-Law success had to do with moving Micah. So if your answer to getting rid of D-Law is to move Micah to defensive end, I can understand that. But now we got to deal with the linebacker position.
Because you have that piece. Micah's just that piece you have. It's not we were successful with not having Micah play full-time DN. But when we did play, he made impact enough to where you didn't miss D-Law.
Right.
So you still have that piece to your disposal. At the end of the day, you can do what you want with them. Now linebackers a situation. I feel like you have young talent that's going to get better, but you have the opportunity to get guys in the draft. At linebacker, even with the La'el Collins thing, you can replace him with a right tackle. Rookie right tackles.
No, you got one. Why would you slide Still in there?
Huh?
You wouldn't slide Still. I would slide Still right at right tackle and put him at guard.
Exactly. So you just get you a guard, Either way.
No, move him to guard. I would move La'el right to guard. Save your draft capital.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm not tripping on the money, but at the end of the day, you did see this team be successful without La'el in a good majority. He's just kind of been unreliable. If you're talking about
now, that is true. He's been unreliable.
Money, and then he's been unreliable on a big part of his contract. So, I mean, you can keep moving forward and think it's going to get better, but now age and health is starting to get in the picture too. And then we don't speak on the performance issues. So there's a lot of bad check marks by him. Again, he's great depth. You could potentially offset that.
No, he's not depth.
I'll
tell you that right now. If he's not starting, he ain't depth. He gone.
I'm good with it. I'm not, like I say, I'm not really emotionally attached to these players. My biggest defense over Dak, when me and you kind of would talk about that situation, my biggest defense was the fact that you can't have a Jimmy Garoppolo in the NFC Championship. Just depending on how your team is built. And, we're still a few pieces away, but I think Dak's definitely better than Jimmy Garoppolo, and fortune kind of is favoring the Niners right now, something that, kind of hasn't been with us for a long time. So it's not to say they're lucky, but it's just enough luck to where their QB can play that bad and they can still –
well,
I mean, they've made it to the NFC Championship with 3 different quarterbacks.
I say this every year. You need luck to win the Super Bowl. I mean, that just is what it is. And I'm not saying it's the number one thing, but you definitely need luck to get to that game.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think, like I said, La'el, D-Law, and like I said, Zeke. I mean, he's expendable. I mean, he's a rock star. It's hard to let go of your rock stars. So, it's not to doubt the guy or nothing like that, but I just feel like his production can be it can be replaced. But I don't think it's so much of an issue of cap than it is that we have to find leadership, management, and we're, just honestly, just, I don't know, a few pieces away. I think the aura of Cowboys, I think, teams get tainted. I mean, players get tainted by it. You kind of watch, you think about Romo and Dak when they were young to when they got 2-3 years with this team, they start they sound defensive, At first when they started, it's like young, naive, just having fun on America's team. But then the rock star and the press and all that just kind of, it's big and bright. And so you always just have to overcome that theme of y'all haven't done nothing in 25 years, 26 years. And unfortunately, that's something that our talent has to deal with. Like you don't see it with any other team. Our talent, our people that we pay money and then, have to have these high expectations, they have to deal with that type of pressure like nobody else has to. Nobody's talking about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, A lot of these teams getting in, they kind of went under the radar. And unfortunately, we're just always in the spotlight. So it's tough. It's going to be tough. It could be another 5-10 years, and not because of the lack of talent. I think it's just circumstances, man, that honestly kind of plague this team. And I don't know, you see the Yankees and Lakers, they get through it. So I don't know why this team can't. So, yeah, that's my thoughts, man.
Management, bro. Management.
Yeah.
You realize, yeah, just management. That's all I'm going to say. All right, brother. Appreciate you, D-Shift.
Yes, sir.
We're going to try 912 one more time.
Hey.
There we go. I tried you earlier, but I couldn't hear you. What's up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was, nothing much, man. I listen to your show all the time, bro. And I'm like on that, I'm a Dak fan and everything. I think if we could, get an offensive coordinator that can help him utilize his weapons, help him read more on the defenses and whatnot. What's your take on that?
Say it again. I don't know if it was a question or a statement.
It's a question. I said on Dak Prescott, right? You hear me?
Yep.
I said, what's your read on that if we got an offensive coordinator that can help him utilize his weapons, like some screen plays or whatnot?
100% agree. 100% agree with you. That's been my.
Go ahead.
That's been my thing this whole entire second half of the season. I thought that the offensive scheme became stale and didn't have a counterpunch. So yeah, I would love to get an offense in here that has a counterpunch or can better feature the stars on this team.
Yeah, because I think, like you said, I think that is our guy. Because of the leadership that he has, the qualities of a leader that he has, and if you help people, help players. They can be awesome.
For sure.
Compliment them with help. You know what I'm saying? I look at how, a lot of them downing, Stephen A. Smith, different one of them down the Cowboys and whatnot. But if you look at the Patriots with Brady and all that, they always protected it. They protected him and helped him get his reads going.
Yeah, coaching matters, man. That's my mantra. Context matters. Coaching matters. I think, obviously management matters too. But, yeah, coaching matters. I think we've seen that with one Josh Allen. We've seen that with what's going on with the Packers. We've seen that with the turnaround with the Rams. We've seen it, right? Like, coaching absolutely matters in your quarterback, your offense, your defense, your just entire team. So, yeah, give me a coach in here that can help make things easier for your offense.
Yeah, yes, man. I love y'all, man. Y'all continue to pray for us, and we'll be praying for you, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Good, man. We got 912 in there. I was hearing him fuss about cooking before he came on. Ian says O-line overhaul got to take place from the center going left over the next 2 years. Should be priority number one this year, next to get back right. I think I agree with that. I would definitely I would definitely look to, I don't want to call it an overhaul. It feels very strong, but I would like to retool it. I would like to tweak it. But it definitely starts left over. Linderbaum obviously is the most popular center name. Green from Texas A&M is a popular guard tackle name. And once we get into the draft aspect of things, we'll talk about those guys and more. I've been reaching out to a couple of my draft guys. I think I talked to Jeff. We're going to try to get Jeff in here a couple times. Vach, obviously, Bobby. We're going to get some draft stuff going on here soon. I'm just not ready to go down that hole just yet. Probably will once the Super Bowl's over. Or right around the Super Bowl. I'll start to dive into it extremely tight, and we'll have actual shows for it. I want to be prepared prior to me just jumping on here just talking about stuff I don't know what I'm talking about. So we'll get to that. King says get rid of Connor Williams. Connor gone. Connor's not coming back here. B said move Lyle to guard. Yes. And that's what I was saying during the season. I'm like, listen, I'm all for this move. If they're going to do it right now. You can't keep playing this back and forth, snip, snap, snip, snap. You need to get quality games under his belt at left guard because it's a total transition from 5 years of not playing a position. So if you're going to do it, do it. Do it now. Don't play around with it. Let's rock. Or B, I kept saying I wish this was a problem at the end of the year so that we can go into the off season and we have an entire off season for him to get acclimated to left guard. By the time you got down to about, the tail end of the season, making that switch was real risky. Real risky. But now we're in the off season. You can make the switch, and I don't think there's much of a risk. Make the switch, get him to train at left guard, get him back to being in that muscle memory and the stances and how he's firing out. All those guard things, left guard things. And remember, he was on an entirely different side. And I think that's your path, your start to making your offensive line better. I think it's a start. All right, guys, we're going to head out. Like I said, tomorrow I'll be back and we'll talk about the depth of this position. And maybe I'll mix in some of the defensive end free agents this week as well that we could target if you don't bring back your guy. So we'll talk about the depth guys, the Bashams, the Armstrongs, not so much Anae, the Golstons and things like that. And we'll continue this Hindsight 2021 series featuring the defensive ends this week. All right. With that said, I'm going to press this button. Appreciate you guys joining me, man. All the donations, the callers, y'all were great today. Make sure y'all hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't and share this with your friends, family, and foes. Let them know to come to A to Z Sports live with your boy Skywalker. Thank you. I will see y'all tomorrow. And tonight, Mauricio Rodriguez, A to Z Sports Primetime. Make sure y'all check out my guy. We out of here. Peace.
I want me some glory hole.